A 600-year-old cold case that has absolutely baffled the greatest minds in history. We are talking about a book that literally defies logic, classification, and frankly, all comprehension. I mean, just think about it. What kind of evidence could completely stump the most brilliant detectives on Earth? When we think of unbreakable codes, we usually picture World War II ciphers or modern computer encryption, but the text we're looking at today, it managed to defeat Alan Turing, top operatives at the FBI, and the absolute best cryptographers in the world.
So here is our crime scene, the Voynich Manuscript. It's an ancient 240-page medieval codex written on this crumbling vellum calfskin. And here's the kicker. The entire thing is written in a language that absolutely no one on the planet can read. It's beautiful, it's intricate, and it is a deeply, deeply frustrating historical artifact.
Actually, to really understand how legendary the difficulty of this text is, look at this warning from top crypto analyst Elizabeth Friedman back in 1962. She said anyone who attempts to translate it is doomed to utter frustration. And she knew exactly what she was talking about, because she sat there and watched her peers try and completely failed to make sense of even a single sentence.
And, well, she was spot on to issue that warning. Look at this incredible list of historical heavy hitters who've taken a crack at it and come up totally empty. We're talking everyone from respected medievalists and skilled linguists to mathematicians and Egyptologists. Every single discipline has thrown their absolute best analytical tools at this book, and every single one has hit a massive brick wall.
So the core of this whole enigma is what researchers have dubbed Voynichese. It's written from left to right, and researchers can tell it has a distinct structure. It's got about 20 to 25 distinct letters. It looks like a real language, it flows like a real language, but nobody can figure out how the letters actually fit together to mean anything.
Section 1. The Evidence. Inside the bizarre pages.
To even begin to wrap our heads around this mystery, we have to take a tour through the intensely weird visual world tucked inside this book. Historians have divided it into sections based on the illustrations, and there's this wild juxtaposition between what seem to be serious scientific categories and these incredibly strange, almost hallucinogenic drawings. Take the herbal section. You've got unrecognized, twisted, spiky plants and a creature that looks like a dragon seahorse chewing on leaves. Then, the astrological section features these massive fold-out charts of the night sky, but they're covered in doodles of naked women emerging from tubes. The biological section is probably the most famous and definitely the most bizarre. We're talking women floating in winding river-like pipes and bathtubs shaped exactly like a human reproductive system, complete with ovaries. Finally, the pharmacological section? It's just dense, heavy pages of pure, completely unreadable Voynichese.
The contents are so thoroughly weird that if you hop online, you'll find some pretty spectacular theories. Since the language and the specific star charts can't be found anywhere else on Earth, one popular internet theory actually suggests a stranded alien from the 1400s used it to chronicle his time here, essentially using it as an alien coloring book. Which is wild, right? But honestly, the real-world attempts to decode it are just as crazy.
Section 2. The Suspects, the Failed Decoders.
Over the past few decades, at least 60 different solutions have been confidently published by various researchers. And it's the exact same cycle every single time. First, there's massive media hype about a so-called breakthrough, and then immediately after, a crushing debunking from actual linguistic experts. Like an Egyptologist named Rainer Hartig claimed it was based in ancient Hebrew and translated full sentences. Well, experts reviewed it, found he took massive liberties, and basically called his translation pure gibberish. Then, a university researcher, David Cheshire, claimed he found a lost predecessor to English and Spanish. Debunked again, botched, rushed research. And then, TV writer Nicholas Gibbs made international news saying it was a Latin women's health manual written in abbreviations. Latin experts took one look and confirmed it was total nonsense from someone lacking real experience in historical texts.
And, the attempts get even more absurd. In 2016, 2 computer scientists announced they successfully translated entire sentences. How did they do it? They literally typed every character they thought looked like a Hebrew letter into Google Translate. Yeah, really. They got a sentence out that read, "She made recommendations to the priestmen of the house and me." Sounds profound, right? Well, Hebrew experts reviewed it and quickly stated the translation wasn't even close. Just another total dead end.
Section 3. The Chain of Custody. Tracking the Timeline.
Since the language itself is getting us absolutely nowhere, we have to look at the physical evidence to figure out where this book actually came from. And carbon dating by historians at the University of Arizona proves the book is undeniably real and incredibly old. It was created between 1404 and 1438, likely in northern Italy, judging by the pigments in the calfskin. It first popped up in the historical record in the late 16th century when Holy Roman Emperor Rudolf II purchased it. It eventually passed to an alchemist named George Baresh, who called it a riddle of the Sphinx, which is pretty fitting. After disappearing for 2.5 centuries, it was bought by a Polish book dealer named Wilfrid Voynich in 1912. He dedicated the rest of his life to it, and today, it safely resides at Yale's Voynich Rare Book and Manuscript Library.
So the absolutely crucial point here is this. If brilliant minds can't crack it, and if advanced computer algorithms completely fail, but the physical history and the carbon dating are 100% real, we kind of have to ask the most cynical question possible. What if the whole thing is just a brilliantly executed scam?
And that brings us to what might be the most grounded, logical explanation of all, the Edward Kelly hoax theory. See, Edward Kelly was a well-known medieval scam artist who operated right around the exact time the manuscript entered the historical record.
The theory proposes that Voynich isn't actually a code at all. The idea is that it worked like this. Kelly would fake going into these deep trances where he claimed to be speaking directly with angels. While he babbled, his accomplices would furiously write down his literal nonsense, but they'd format it to look like this highly structured angel language. Then, they took this beautifully illustrated book of pure, unadulterated gibberish and sold it to Emperor Rudolf for a massive fortune. If this theory is right, all those brilliant cryptographers we talked about, they've spent centuries trying to decode a text that means absolutely nothing.
As we close this cold case file, it really leaves us with a fascinating paradox. Is there an actual profound truth waiting to be decoded in those strange, crumbling pages? Or has the world's most mysterious book, with its ovary-shaped bathtubs and totally unreadable letters, simply been laughing at us for 600 years? What do you think?